Welcome to IS340. I'm Professor Fahmi Jalani. Today we will talk about achieving operational excellence and customers intimacy on enterprise application, or so known as enterprise system, in chapter 9. So like we covered previously, enterprise system or ERP, also known as, technically they are basically modules that's integrated into a common centralized database. Uh, it could be for finance, logistic, or warehouse. Okay. And the function is basically to collect data and to create information for management to make decision. And this is basically a best practice for each department, like I mentioned earlier, finance, accounting, account payable, account receivable, okay, HR, okay, payroll, manufacturing, shipping, logistic, warehousing, sales, marketing, okay, are basically integrated into one system from the best practice or process that they have been using. To implement it, so basically you need to know the function of the system, okay, and also a layout or a map of the process, in this case your business process. And there are ways to configure or customize it. And in the event that the software doesn't support your business, some software allows to rewrite, okay, or reprogram the certain part. But there are times where it could be compromised in terms of information, where data are not output in the way that they are correct, or misinformation. Okay. Alternatively, you can change the business process to match the software. So here we take a look at the layout, where we have the central database in the middle, and we have the different department, finance, HR, manufacturing, sales, and marketing, integrated into one, okay, for an overall system. In terms of value, okay, it does increase efficiency where processes are being streamlined and information are being transferred from one department to another quickly. That's where decisions are made, and also in terms of customer requests, you could respond immediately. On top of that, management are able to generate report from their analytical tool and see it could be the best performance or best item, okay, best selling item, for example. In terms of supply chain network, okay, raw materials are being purchased, okay, and changing them into products, manufacturing, in this case, and then also distribution. Okay. Upstream, basically managing relationship with supplier, okay, company that produce, for example, iPhone. You need a good supplier in order to sell your product consistently. And downstream is basically delivering to the customer. We have the retail shop, okay, other than, for example, Apple shop, we do have other carrier, for example, T-Mobile, Verizon. Okay. So here next we take a look at example of Nike. So Nike as the company, they have a contract supplier, there's still one, and usually contract supplier will outsource it, and we have a second tier supplier where like Nike, they don't rely on one supplier. See, you need several suppliers. In this case, that's two, and the contract supplier would have other supplier, and there's tier 2 and tier 3, they would have other supplier too. See, that's quite common in most industry where supply and demand, and they could bargain on the price. Okay. From there, once manufactured, it be distributed and also to retailer, and finally to the customer. In terms of IS and supply chain, so if there is no efficiency in terms of operation, you could waste up to 25% according to the practice. Okay. Companies do practice just in time, or JIT. Basically components, for example, arrive as and when is required. In this case, for example, if you look example at night, okay, the supplier for example, the material will come just in time before it's being processed to the manufacturing plant. This greatly reduce warehouse space or warehousing. Okay? Right. On top of that, we have safety stock, where at times the most demand item would have a buffer where products would be on standby to prevent any lack of supply. Okay. Also, take note on bullwhip. This is quite common where information get hype. For example, a demand of a certain item. You see the diagram here where the customer, okay, holding a whip, and information gets larger and larger, and usually manufacturer will get a different information and end up supplying more than demand. See? Which we will take a look at the next slide. So when that happens, as customer demand is misinterpreted, okay, the graph get larger and larger, and it's a ripple effect where manufacturer will manufacture more item, but in the end be a waste. Okay. Some of the software for supply chain, technically basically it's planning system. You can model it on the existing supply chain, which is on the data existing, will be on yearly basis and monthly, okay, where they fall back on the history of the supply and demand. It could be seasonal item, or it could be Christmas, or it could be Thanksgiving, Easter, or winter, spring. Okay. Demand planning, okay, supply and demand, and they could forecast items, okay, optimizing sourcing, establish inventory level, where when the inventory gets certain level of for example item or quantity, they will trigger to order, okay, and identify transport modes. This is basically logistic. Okay. And also we have execution system, where most of it are distribution center and warehousing. Right. Next, take a look at global supply chain and the internet. So today, with supply all over the world, especially in China, okay, there's basically greater distance, and not only that, also time. Okay, so different countries, you have laws to take a look at, and also currency. Okay, and on top of that, with the internet also, it helps, okay, to manage, where you can manage the warehouse, transportation, and also logistic. So moving on, demand. So we have two system in this case, push and pull. Push basically is where manufacturer will guess the demand of the item, which is not a feasible practice, where manufacturer could overproduce an item and will get waste with no demand, okay? Not much demand, oversupply. Pull is the opposite, where customer will order trigger in the supply chain, and from there it could pre-order, for example, you could pre-order an item, okay, and it will trigger, okay, and manufacturer will make it as customer request. Okay. So let's take a look at a model here. So we have the push base, where here in the middle we have the manufacturer pushing the item towards the distributor, retailer, consumer, and also pushing to the supplier for the raw material. As for pull, customer will request, where sometimes when we ourselves request an item, you can order it from the retailer, and from there they will relay the information back to the manufacturer. Okay. That's the chain. So let's take a look at a map here, or how the internet supply chain. So here we see basically a web of how every part of the supply chain is interrelated, okay, from manufacturer, distributor, logistic, supplier, and customer, right? Next we move on to best value. Okay, so business value, in this case, where they match supply and demand, reduce inventory level, improve delivery speed, product time to market, okay, use asset effectively, reduce cost in terms of supply chain, okay, right, and increase sale. A fine example is a company called Amazon, where you can order item for within 2 days for prime shipping, even though Amazon don't actually manufacture anything, but their logistic distribution is quite robust. Next, we take a look at customer relationship management. So here, CRM would require you to know the customer, okay, and how they interact with the company, okay, and company do use the data for their sales, okay, to check on customer behavior. Companies like Amazon do use their data and push certain product. For example, when customer look at a certain item, for example, written boot, they would also promote other item that could be relevant, for example, gloves or scarf, on the website itself. Okay. So here we have a diagram on CRM. Okay. So here we have sales, service, and marketing, right? And sales doing consists like telephone, web, okay, call center, and for services, and marketing for example, data analysis. Some range of software. Okay, here we have partner relationship management and employee relationship management. Okay, where prices and promotion are being monitored with PRM, and employee relationship are more subjective. Okay, where employees are being given incentive with their relationship with the customer. Okay, from the sales that they could push. Okay, next we have Salesforce automation. Okay, where sales code could be generated. Okay, customer service quite straightforward in marketing. Okay. Having said that, here we have a diagram on marketing or CRM. This is 2014. Take note. Okay, I believe it would have changed today. Okay, where as you can see here, majority is telephone and direct mail. With today social network, most of the CRM could be on the web, see, or even social media. Okay. What are the capabilities? Okay, from the data, okay, department like sales, marketing, and service, okay, could generate more leads, for example, and also in terms of promotion to the customer, right? So let's take a look at the map. In this example, it shows in this loyalty program. If, for example, if you shop at Macy's, you could use your loyalty card. Okay, where customer company would receive a request, and they will obtain the information from database, and if there's a score for the customer, okay, high value, they will get points or offers or special promotion. Okay, if no, they could accumulate more points in the future for them to use. Next, we take a look at operation and analytical. Okay. As we see in the real world, CRM do consist of, for example, customer service center and also call center. Okay, and there are times when you do have automated customer service too. Analytical CRM, so we covered on data mining, OLAP, okay, where they are populated to generate report of the customer. Okay. So here we see the customer warehouse, okay, and the tools that they have, and where does the information comes from, okay, customer data, right? And from this, reports could be generated to check whether if the customer is profitable or which segment of the market, and also churn rates. This value, benefit, okay, you increase customer satisfaction, reduce direct marketing costs, okay, you can market the product more effectively. As you know, certain customer would use certain product, so you market them directly. Lower cost to keep the customer, right? And also, most importantly, increase revenue. At the same time, you can generate churn rate, see which customer stop using or purchase the product, okay? And at the same time, you could ask question, why does the customer stop uh, the product or your services, and how you could improve it more. Enterprise application, uh, basically the software is quite expensive. In this case, over 7 million. Okay. And it takes a long time to complete, to stabilize. In this case, 17 months. Technology is very in depth. Okay. So you need to have both technical and business mindset to be able to see the overall map of the process in the company. Like I mentioned earlier, business processes, and is organization learning, where the whole company needs to learn how to use the system, how to optimize it, and also switching costs from the legacy system is quite high. But having said that, it standardize your data, manage, and so cleans up all your processes and data. So next, what's next? So having said that, we do have more flexible and web-enabled enterprise system. Also, there are companies that allow third-party, okay, and they are open source and also cloud-based, okay, and it's making more cheaper. Lastly, we do have social CRM. This is basically companies are connected to social network, for example, in this case, Facebook, Instagram, okay, Twitter, where and other social network are being generated, information are being taken from this social media, and to see what's the reaction of the customer, and using technology from Oracle for database to siphon out all the positive and negative and bring feedback to the company. Okay. At the same time, we do have business intelligence, okay, or more on AI, okay, generating what if scenario, for the company to increase sales. Okay. So that's pretty much it for the class today. If you have any question, feel free to email me. Stay safe. Thanks. Bye.